name is Ethan Hugo. I am the head of the legal and professional segment at LexisNexis South Africa. Part of my role is to ensure that the solutions offered by LexisNexis, that they continue to push the boundaries in providing efficiencies to you, our customers, and very importantly, uphold the advancing the rule of law. So I'm honored to be your facilitator this morning. And today we have such an esteemed panel of speakers with us. So they'll be helping us to unpack really some of these massive shifts, these seismic shifts that have taken place within the legal landscape, are predominantly obviously accelerated by COVID-19. So in particular, we're going to be exploring how this has affected the practice of advocates in South Africa. I'm very excited to have seen in the registrations that a large percentage of those joining us today are junior advocates who are at the start of their careers and probably are going to benefit the most from some of the changes, the exciting changes we'll speak about today. If I may just have a short housekeeping, you'll see that there is a question and answers tab at the bottom of the screen. You can send any questions that you have to the Q&A tab, and we'll get to those as we go through the program. There is also a chat box. So don't post your questions in the chat box, post your questions in the Q&A tab. Keep the chat box for general comments that you specifically and possibly would like our experts to respond to or just see. The webinar recording, very importantly, will be available to all delegates here today, so that you're freely able to share it, because there's going to be some really good information shared that you're able to then share it with anybody, any of your colleagues that may have missed this or may benefit from watching, specifically those that may have been affected by load shedding. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you today our panel panelists. A warm welcome to Advocate Anthea Platt. Anthea was formerly the Deputy Chair and current member of the Legal Practice Council. We have Advocate Romeo Ntambeleni, representing the South African Bar Association, joining us today. We also have Terence Naidoo, who is the Product Director at LexisNexis, or I know that is one of the many hats that he wears. And then also excited to introduce Advocate Ronelle Ferguson, who is the CEO of the Virtual Chambers.
Hello.
So there we go. Hi, panelists. Thank you for joining us. So my daughter would be proud of me right now, because I'll just quote quite a trendy song that's on the radio at the moment. It says, "Let's get down to business." So let's start this. Let's get directly into that. Anthea, I'm going to, Advocate Platt, I'm going to ask you, as the former Deputy Chair of the Legal Practice Council, and obviously a current member thereof, you're so closely involved with matters concerning advocates, attorneys, and legal practitioners. Obviously, this is a profession that is, let's face it, being slow to adapt to change, to embrace change, but yet, specifically now in this COVID period, I mean, it's almost been forced upon them. And we have to take advantage. I mean, they need to take advantage of the technology so that they're able to not only survive, but thrive in this period. So what I'd like to ask you or put to you at this point is, could you possibly share for us some of the insights around what the LPC is currently doing to equip professionals with this migration, this move to digital? What kind of programs, what kind of training initiatives are underway to upskill practitioners? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ethan, and thank you, LexisNexis and Virtual Chambers, for allowing me to be part of your webinar today. The Legal Practice Council doesn't do training. So we accredit organizations and associations to do training for us. We do not have the necessary capacity to do training ourselves. So what we do is we accredit. We have very big organizations in the attorneys firm like LEAD, who does training for us. accredited by the LPC, as well as other organizations. The General Council of the Bar is one of the big organizations on the advocate side that does training for us. So as part of the new Act, there are regulations that provide for basic IT upskilling. So you have to do a course as an attorney or as an advocate as a basic IT. But what we also can suggest is that if organizations want to do a niche or a specific training to upskill people even further, then that can also be sent through to the LPC for accreditation to see how they can deal with it. And then it will be an accredited course. So right now, it is only through the Regulation 7 and Regulation 6 that provides for a basic IT, but there isn't anything else that the LPC can do. But this is something that we are looking at, and maybe other organizations can come up with various niche courses specifically catering for this type of upskilling. I mean, if you look at my background, I still have books all around, so I'm still part of the old school. But I know that people are moving more towards digital research and not taking the books off the shelves anymore. And that is something that we need to also delve into and start upskilling, especially the baby juniors, on how to look at your LexisNexis, for instance. I won't mention the other products that are out there, but we need people to know exactly how to use them, because I don't think it's something that they just know typing in Google or something. It's specifically, you need specific training for that. And I think that is something that we can look at doing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Advocate. Sorry, the tongue tied there. Ntombeleni. That's obviously, I hope I got that right. I've practiced it, but I hope I got it right there, Romeo. So this is great. Thanks, man. This is where I'd like to bring you in here. I mean, you're a seasoned senior advocate yourself. I mean, today you're representing the South African Bar Association. What are some of the practical ways, I mean, that the work of advocates, you believe, has been affected by this shift towards virtual working? Especially, I mean, those first few months we had, those hard lockdown we had. I mean, there's got to be some pros and cons from that. Your input there would be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, LexisNexis, and thank you, Virtual Chambers, again for this invitation of today to speak in this groundbreaking future program and project. It's quite true that the landscape is changing and is actually shifting, and COVID has actually made us to actually wake up from our sleep and start to look at other alternatives that can actually make us work, because there was a great exodus of advocates outside chambers because of the impact of COVID and the financial implications that comes with that. It was just unsustainable to be in a chamber, with bricks and mortar, and you still had to work and find a way to actually work. So fortunately enough, in our division, there was an introduction of case lines, and case lines was loathed by both practitioners and judges as well. It was hated, and I want to make it clear that it was not something that was welcomed at ease, and everyone was complaining how we're going to actually unravel this beast and work. But ultimately, what is important that we must all be aware of is that it is said that the next world war that is going to come out is going to be fought over information and data. Everyone remembers Julian Assange and the WikiLeaks and what has actually happened. So we are moving towards an information age wherein we cannot move away from the digital space. And ourselves as lawyers as well, we have to advance ourselves into equipping ourselves, as Anthea has rightfully said, in upscaling ourselves from moving from bricks and mortar to start investing in people instead of building. That's all I can say.
Advocate, thanks. Really great points there. I mean, some of the points that you brought up there in terms of the data, innovation, etc. lead me directly to the next person I'd like to have a chat with here, and that's Terence. Terence, given this shift towards virtual working, LexisNexis, we know, has obviously had to pivot, and with large offices, had to pivot to ensure that we continue to effectively service our clients, service these professionals who were like suddenly thrown into grappling with these challenges of being away from their traditional legal practices. So as product director, chief technology officer, you've been obviously very, very closely involved in the profession and what's needed to support the profession. What would you say are some of the initiatives that LexisNexis has put in place to enable this transition for the legal professional? And how do we remain, or how does LexisNexis remain a valued partner in this new landscape?
Great. Yeah, thanks for that, Ethan. And hi all. Yeah, so Ethan, just in a small nutshell, this has always been part of the LexisNexis evolution in terms of our digital roadmap. So when you mention things like transition and the initiatives we've taken, at LexisNexis, we have taken, and we've always taken the view of building sustainable products. So we had to set the right building blocks to achieve our success. So there are two areas that comes to mind. First is the culture we had to adopt, and the other is the creation of a digital product ecosystem. So from the culture perspective, this is quite a shift. So we had to create a highly innovative culture within the organization. And on top of that, we had to layer it with the passion to provide superior technologies and content solutions, because customer experience is at the heart of whatever we do. We strive to create products which are purpose-built for both our customers. So, and finally, to get this to really work, we had to put together highly skilled people who work together to build these next generation of products. So there's lots to do that the company had to shift, but it's been a journey in terms of culture, in terms of innovation, in terms of passion, and just getting the right sort of skills on board. So, and the next thing, which I mentioned is that we now have the DNA. So now we have to look at our product showcase and what is the ecosystem of products we have that can service this so-called digital age. So what as a company we did, we've taken our product streams and we've broken them down into 3 specific segments. And they are namely research solutions, workflow architect solutions, and we find risk and compliance. In the research space, in this line of products, our focus is to provide these solutions, which are powered by AI and analytics, to drive best of class research, decision outcomes, productivity, and process efficiencies. And this is where the legal market plays. This is the future of what we're looking for, is how do we make these virtual practices work, as in being more efficient and in fact productive. And the goal here is to get best of class outcomes for our professionals out there. So then we decided let's bring on board a workflow solutions, because you just don't work in your environment. You need to interact with various other parties outside of your ecosystem. So we are bringing out, and our focus is to provide end-to-end next generation automation and workflows to improve the customer efficiency and value. And this is the products where you mentioned, which you'll see as part of our stable, Lexis Sign. We have chat services, etc. And finally, like in putting all of this together, we also realized there's a risk and compliance section. And in this suite of products, we provide comprehensive data-driven risk management solutions to mitigate business exposure and change compliance obligations, which we are scared of, into opportunities. So you can see how we've crafted our products. It's very strategically molded in terms of 3 different sectors that meets this ever-changing need for this digital future. So, and you asked a question also there, Ethan, how do we remain like a valued partner? So as you can see, we've got the building blocks, we've got the culture, we've got the products. So for us at LexisNexis, we started this journey like a long time ago. And what we do well is that we look at what are the emerging market trends. So we've been watching this whole space and this horizon for a long time. So at the moment now, it's a virtual world. Then you're moving into another sector, which is around the so-called efficiencies of how you can gain as much productivity in the environment. That's the next wave coming out. And the following wave will be about prediction and then analytics. So we already have our sights set on what we need to achieve. And we've molded this company now to be very agile and that we can adopt to these changes that are taking place in the market. And these changes are going to come through quickly. They're going to come through faster because technology, the advancement is taking at a very fast pace. So we have positioned ourselves and will continue to position ourselves as the leading technology provider. And that's how we will continue to support the actual professional market.
Perfect, Terence. Great, great, great. I'd like to take the opportunity, Advocate Platt, if we can just circle back to you. I love this part when I read it, understandably, in the script, but it says that you're a fierce defender and advocate of women's rights and founded Basadi Ba Molao, correct?
That's
okay.
correct.
An NPO that assists and empowers women in this profession. Networking and chambers are obviously very important platforms that advocates have always, and especially women advocates, have always been maybe underrepresented in the profession. But while the chambers can improve your profile, can improve your visibility, the cost of that can be quite prohibitive. So in COVID-19, we can all say has exacerbated that completely. So how can, in your opinion, previously disadvantaged advocates and younger advocates specifically, that we've got a couple of them on as well, tap into the benefits that have long been the hallmark of a chambers environment?
Yes, and that's a tricky one. As you can see, I'm still very old school, although I'm learning to catch up with the times now. Before COVID and before this drastic move to virtual and digital, we had the benefit of seeing counsel arguing in court and learning from them, how they tackle difficult questions from the bench, how they can showcase their abilities in front of a room full of advocates and attorneys. And that's how we used to get experience, exposure, and how we got work. Also, if you're in a chambers environment, you're able to walk to the next office and say, hey, can you please help me? I'm busy in a matter. Can I discuss something with you quickly? So we still, you have that in a chambers facility. But now with COVID, lots of people haven't been coming to chambers. With the hard lockdown, I think chambers were virtually standing empty. And I think I only started coming back to chambers, I think, when we hit level 4. But what I see now, and the move before the LPA, we had to be in approved buildings, which was part of our associations that we joined. But with the Legal Practice Act, you don't need approved buildings. You can practice from an acceptable building anyway. So that has given the freedom to have virtual chambers. That has given us the freedom to work from digitally. And I think we have to start adapting towards that. We have a WhatsApp group. I think lots of people have moved to social media now as well, to have WhatsApp groups so that if you need assistance, you can tap into that instead of walking to somebody's office. So with the changing environment, there's a strong social media presence. You're going to have to be socially active and have a link still, even though you can't be physically in a chamber. So I think people more and more are moving to virtual chambers, and I think, or even shared chambers, where they spend part of the time in the office and some of the time out of the office, because sometimes consulting would be best served in an environment. So I think people are moving a lot more to that type of thing. Even those slow lounge, I know the South African Bar Association was punting a slow lounge type of effect. And all of those things are great ideas that would benefit baby juniors who are entering the profession, because sometimes you just don't have the money. And you might be doing the work, but we have to wait so long to get paid. They can't sustain themselves. It's not sustainable. So yes, I think with the move to digital and the move to virtual court, even court hearings are going virtual now. Even arbitrations are being done virtually, even though it's a bit tricky when you have witnesses sitting in the same room as their counsel, and we don't know if they're being prompted or not being prompted, but we just have to take them at their word. So it is a bit difficult, but I think people are getting used to it and a lot quicker. And I think it's a good move for juniors. They might miss out on having to see and gain that exposure that we did. But I think if you have your social media, or your WhatsApp groups, or if you meet once a month or every second month, they can still tap into it. And I think that's where we should be trying to go in, is to not avoid the human contact completely, but to minimize the costs, so going your virtual, but having add-ons to cater for that.
Excellent.
So, yeah,
thank you. Yeah, perfect. I mean, it just improving your efficiencies by adopting technologies.
yes.
I just want to quickly say something, obviously, to all our attendees. The challenges of working virtually. I mean, the challenges of us not being in a panel, sitting on a couch and having this discussion in a nice environment is, I mean, it's clear. I mean, we've done everything from a generator perspective, but you might hear a bit of banging in the background here. It's apparently people on the roof of our building doing work. I mean, so I've sent the troops to try and get them off there. So please excuse if you hear a banging there. And we might need a good advocate to assist us, or an attorney to assist us when I have somebody thrown off the roof. So my apologies for that. Advocate Ntambeleni. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. You've had a great career, obviously, that encompassed not only practicing, but teaching in law, in legal practice for over 20 years with your vast academic knowledge. You're probably, and I can see with the screen and everything behind you, you're pretty tech savvy. And given that obviously you're seen as an expert by the media in a lot of this. I mean, we've heard you on SAPC News, we've heard you on ETV, we've heard you on SAFM, and Vembe FM as well. So I'd like to ask you, would you say that advocates or that the advocate profession is well prepared for the ways in which it's now being permeated, almost being forced into technology?
Yeah. No, thank you very much. I think Anthea has raised very important points in terms of our digital migration. It's starting a little bit slow, but slowly and surely we are getting there. There's a saying in Afrikaans, they say SJ8 or Benekan. So we are moving towards the inside. It's getting much more better, and with considerations that are being brought by virtual chambers, we need a blended model that will actually assist us in moving and helping us. What is important here is that technology is for our benefit. I think we really have to emphasize that. Anthea is right that we used to go to court and you can tap someone in the shoulder and say, Ronel, I've got a problem. How do I couch this order? And how do I draft these papers? And you get assistance there and there. It's no longer happening now. But on the downside of things, if you go to courts like Toyando and you see files lying down, they've got a space issue, and then files can get stolen, and then you are not going to get your file. You'll go and look for it, and 1,000 of duplicate files are open. It creates a logistical nightmare for judges. So if you have that system of case lines and virtual, you are able to look at your case on the tip of your finger. I saw it when I was acting. Another benefit is that a person who is in Limpopo, in the Toyando, who is an advocate, can appear in the High Court in Pretoria virtually without driving a car from Toyando to Pretoria. That should benefit all of us. I couldn't appear in Cape Town if they don't have case lines. I need to take a flight, wake up in the morning, leave my family behind, go directly to Cape Town. As you have said, Hugo, I can present at home, and then as Anthea said, I can log in, get a link, and then present my case at home. So that is for our benefit, and we are, for what Anthea is saying, let's blend everything and walk towards the future, so that we will be inside the future. We will not be behind.
I like that, inside the future. Yeah, that's absolutely great. Thank you. Terence, LexisNexis has put a lot of work into repositioning itself as a legal tech company. So we're obviously, as LexisNexis, very focused on harnessing the power of technology and digital transformation to aid our clients, to aid the legal community, to expand our reach. But there's these buzzwords that often scare people when you talk about technology. I mean, we know them all, we've heard them: big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, merged reality, disruption. I mean, yesterday I was reading an article on the metaverse. I mean, so it's absolutely crazy. But how do we take that and put it in simple terms? How can we take this conservative, historically conservative profession and make sure that we catapult them and assist them in this advancement in technology? Thanks.
Yeah, Ethan, I mean, that's a very good question, and especially for this type of market. I'd like to change the question like so slightly, is that I think it's the first step for any person when they're talking big data, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, is to really understand what problem you're trying to solve. And it's besides the problem is that what is the best outcome in terms of the problem? Because you can solve something in various ways, but you are looking for the best outcome. And what is the best sort of route to take? So you need to understand that first. As an advocate, you need to understand, do I want to win more cases? Do I want to have a better heads of argument? Do I want to have better, like you find submissions? Is my communication fine? So you start with that point. You first identify the problem that you're trying to solve, and you try to find the best solution for it. So it's companies like us, which is the big tech companies, the LexisNexis, the Googles. It's our responsibility to make sure we use these technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, to wrap it in a way that is very sort of user-friendly. So it's things made by humans, you find for like humans. So that's our goal to do. And I just want to give you two very simple examples, and one is a real world example where there's no need to be fear, and it is solving a problem for us. And one which we've just launched, which is an AI built in a solution. So if you take Google Maps, for example, I mean, Google Maps is something we all experience, or Apple Maps. The amount of technology, from AI to machine learning, that is packed into that, where it'll take you from point A to point B in the fastest route, shortest route, most scenic route. It will tell you what your traffic is. It will give you the exact time what you're going to land. That is AI at action at its best. So we all use it every day, and it solved the problem of not taking a MacBook, and it gets you to your destination and it gives you alternatives. That is AI. So there's no need to be afraid of it or be scared of it. It is the tech giant like a Google that has made it very user-friendly. So that's what we are trying to do. So at LexisNexis, we've just launched a powerful app, which is called Lexus Check. And what this does for you is that if you had to look at it, when you're doing your heads of argument, the process is you will get it dictated out. You've got all your citations in terms of case law and your legislative references. So the process is now going to validate this and make sure they are 100% correct. So you go onto the LexisNexis database, you go and double check the reference, is the act been repealed, the case law, like etc. So we realized that our users are working in Word. And now they've got to go and check all these cases, and they're using two apps. So we decided, let's bring LexisNexis in, the LexisNexis database into Word. So by a click of a button now, the AI that we built in it recognizes all the citations you have. And if a citation is not cited 100%, it will give you the recommendations on the little sidebar to say, these are all the cases that have a similar name. And then you can go and select it. And then we also provide the signals where it has been applied, like effect, etc. And it will also show you the acts that have been repealed. So you know you're citing the right act. Mm-hmm. So we've built the AI, we've trained it over thousands and thousands of documents to be as accurate as in fact possible. So there's something where you have a little icon in Word, you click a button, where a process that used to take you hours in terms of validating these so-called citations now happens in 10 seconds. It identifies them, passes it through. So it's our responsibility at the tech giants to make sure it is as user-friendly as possible. And the responsibility of the advocates and the professionals is just to make sure that you know what solution you're looking for, and that you understand that you're looking for the best outcome. My fear for lots of people, that if you don't gravitate and you don't take on and you don't look at the emerging trends and the technologies like in fact available, what you don't want to be is the frog in the boiling pot, where at some point you're going to die because you haven't adapted and you haven't changed. So you need to be aware, and my advice to all is that look at the problems that are closest to your heart and which you want to solve. We will provide the technology for that at a click of a button, so don't be scared of it, embrace it. That's the goal of us, where we reduce the complexity.
Great, yeah, I think that's the principle. I mean, adapt to survive and thrive. Because I mean, if we look at obviously how technology, and you mentioned some of the smaller things, Google Maps, these things that have become part of our day-to-day. I mean, and so too, why can we not adopt these technologies within the profession, within obviously our day-to-day activities, to make sure that we're obviously our efficiencies are going up. That's always the best to me, is when you can actually bring efficiencies to that. So I'm really excited to bring Advocate Ronelle Ferguson into the conversation at this point. Ronelle, thank you for waiting so patiently. Excited to have you here. Ronelle, you told us that it was during that initial hard lockdown. I mean, when you were forced to continue practicing from home, and that you realized the plight, but the opportunities as well that existed for yourself or many colleagues. That's where you had this light bulb moment, if you want to call it that. And you thought of this, there's this concept of a virtual chambers. You're now the CEO of the virtual chambers, but you have an expansive career of over 22 years. Tell us a little bit more about what brought about that initiative, what brought about that virtual chambers initiative, please, Advocate.
Firstly, thank you to my esteemed colleagues from the SA Bar and here, with you bringing the LPC to the party, and LexisNexis for initiating this discussion. Ethan, when we got very little notice of chambers that were literally going to lock down, I don't think we had more than a week to pack up and relocate remotely. And in that time, I did my first virtual trials in April last year. We were all forced to suddenly work from home. I know that my co-founder Bongi and I borrowed a bakkie and started dragging. I can't tell you how many times we had to drive just to get our current files and the files, because we didn't know how long this was going to carry on, to get those stacks and stacks and bucket loads of files and the essential publications just to get that home. And Josie, that slide showing where I ended up doing my first 2 trials in April that year. That was my dining room table at the time. And then in that time and preparing for those trials, fortunately with a lot of nerves, getting to know MS Teams, getting to know Zoom, consulting with my attorneys in Cape Town and in Mbombela at the time, I sat around the fire with my dad. He's 80 years plus. And he asked me, what are your colleagues doing? How are they coping? And he said to me, when I explained to him my trials are carrying on, the consultation and preparation is carrying on, it was actually my dad that said, but then why are you paying so much for your chambers? And that I think was the first spark. And it led me to go back to my days as a baby junior and my experiences, my anxiety. I pondered about them. How were they going to survive? You mentioned my training. I spent 22 years at the bar, 10 years before that as an attorney, and I've always had a passion for training the little ones, my juniors, my social responsibility project, and I was really concerned about them. It's all good and well for us. We've had a long practice. We're going to be okay. But the little ones, I mean, Anthea mentioned the airtime we had in open court, standing around in the corridors, meeting other attorneys. We had all of that. And that's where Virtual Chambers was born. The lockdown happened very suddenly. Bongi and Renee, my co-founders, we immediately realized that the value of this uncharted solution, and we decided we're going to put this Virtual Chambers together. But this Virtual Chambers would mimic the physical and costly chambers in all its elements. That was the brief. From work sharing, collaboration on knowledge and skills transfer, social interaction, but it must be an easy user journey. It mustn't be a mission. And it's at your fingertips, and you click, and all of that appears on one tray. It's really, like I've mentioned in some previous webinars, that when I go and visit my colleagues at physical chambers, there's one colleague that says, chips, chips, here comes the avatar. So we embraced that. It took us 18 months from concept, and thousands of hours. Creativity, you can imagine the financial challenges, unlimited hours in the dark of the night. There are no hours between the three of us. And at the same time, I had to make sure that my own practice didn't become collateral damage. So all those balls were in the air, but it was extremely exciting. We didn't have any reference. We didn't have anybody to go and look at. There were, and still from our research, no other virtual chambers that have got all the elements. We were alone in the big wide world. It hadn't been done before. And we started putting this together. And the most important target vision issue was retaining the traditional culture of advocacy. Every utility on the platform was measured against, would you find this in a physical chambers? Would you want this in a physical chambers? No, that doesn't happen in a physical chambers. This does, and we brought it in. And we went, our test site went live in February this year. And when I took it to my dad and I showed him all the utilities, he said to me, he said, is this all on Google Tube? So he got it, he couldn't believe it. And then we started getting people in on the platform. So what does Virtual Chambers have? The most important thing, our members must be LPC compliant and in good standing with the LPC, and they must work through a referral practice. Some of our young ones that approached us said, but is it legal? Anthea's answered the question. We often find that the young ones are not sure if it's legal, and what we say, it's literally a building in the cloud. But that building has all the utilities of real advocates' chambers. You stay connected with your colleagues. It was actually last Friday, in one of the common rooms. We created, I think there are 6 common rooms, 2 conference rooms, and a pub. And we had a meeting on Friday afternoon, and a colleague just popped into the pub because she saw me. You can see on the platform who's in which common room. And you know what we are like. You can go, oh no, I can't do that one on my empty stomach this morning. I'll rather go to that common room. You can request common rooms. And a very important factor mentioned by both Romeo and Anthea, the ability to walk down the corridor and ask your colleagues questions. You must remember, with the lockdown and its consequences, our colleagues are scattered all over the place. They are practicing remotely, some at home, some in little groups of 2 and 3 rented offices together, some of them in these buildings, others still in the traditional chambers buildings. What Virtual Chambers wants to achieve is to bring us back together again. That old, the knock-knock platform, where if you remember, you click on knock-knock, and it's picking up quite a bit now, and you click your problem that you've got, and then you can select share with all the members or with specific members, and instantly your query. So where in the past, in physical chambers, you would walk down your corridor or catch up with your colleagues at coffee or wherever, it's a geographically unlimited knock-knock. And that's why we called it knock-knock. So you reach everybody immediately, and they come back and they help. The platform's got a direct feed of all the notices from the LPC that's uploaded instantly. And especially, I'm back to the younger colleagues. You know how you sit and wait for the telephone to ring or somebody to brief you? Well, the training and development is very important. We've got a direct live feed to the Constitutional Court. So they can sit there and learn. Well, I learned something amazing this week in the Constitutional Court. There's a live feed of what's happening in the Constitutional Court. Obviously, it's cost effective. I mean, it's a absolute pittance of what I used to pay. We're waiting for our senior colleagues to catch up a little bit, because we're reliant on their capital, intellectual capital. We look to them to guide us, to assist us.
That's so exciting. I just want to lead on there, because I know you're so passionate. I can see this passion, and I know you could talk for hours on this.
Sorry about that.
No, not at all. I mean, they've brought this together and put it together, and I can see it's been so well thought out, so that it obviously attends to all the things that Anthea and Romeo have also, and Terence have brought to our attention. I love the way you speak about the young ones, because you're like a mother hen. You know, like you want to look after them, you want to nurture, you want to nurture them. I mean, so that passion that you've got, that you're showing us, I mean, for training, for social responsibility, lecturing of candidate attorneys, which you've done for almost 9 years, the junior advocates. I mean, maybe they haven't had that exposure, you know. So that virtual platform, I think you touched on it quite a bit, but it provides this very similar experience to the normal chambers. I mean, obviously, and in terms of the physical chambers, and from network, like you said, networking to training. So you've mentioned it, but I'd like to see, what are the some of the questions that, for example, like what's available additionally, or what is the practical alternative to a virtual chamber? And before you answer that question, we've got 2 questions in the Q&A. I really invite everybody to post more questions in the Q&A so that we can get to that as well. But at that point, Janelle, can I hand back to you?
So the Virtual Chambers platform is the practical, affordable alternative. And that's where we get LexisNexis have got incredible concept and developments in place that is coming to you know, that's especially targeted at our young juniors. The benefit of collaboration, training, we have a special link there for lectures and training. So we get our colleagues involved, we get our academics involved, other webinars, we get them involved. And the benefit here is, and the question's been asked, how do you, what do you get that I can't do on my own if I practice remotely? Well, this is what you get. You can spend your days trolling the internet and going to different sites, either to get case law or to LexisNexis or to answers, or you can Zoom colleagues. The Virtual Chambers platform gives you all of that on one site. And that's the benefit. It's also time, it saves a lot of time as well.
Absolutely, pushes up productivity, I'm sure. You've answered some questions I wanted to ask because, but what I want to ask you, can you belong to both the physical chambers and the virtual chambers at the same time?
Well, of course you can. There are many other professional platforms. There are platforms for liquidation practitioners, business rescue practitioners, medical malpractice practitioners, but VC Virtual Chambers has got all the benefits of physical chambers. So it's a platform mimicking real chambers with collaboration, training, knock-knock, social, live feeds. So it's a virtual, it is what it says. It's a virtual advocates chambers. It's a building in the cloud with the benefits.
Great. Sure, absolutely. So I mean that I'm sold. I'm absolutely sold. But I'm sure a lot of the people obviously on the event today are sold as well. I also want to ask you, with technology, there are obviously technical challenges and etc. Does the virtual chambers have a support mechanism in place for people that may be having some technical issues on the platform, obviously getting used to the use of the platform?
Yes, absolutely. It's very important that our members have reach out. So there's always, our team is always available. One of our members accidentally logged herself out and she struggled to get back in. And I mean, it was a phone call, email, and she was back in. It's absolutely important, like with the normal office at Chambers. If your light switch isn't working, there should be somebody there to help you. And that's an integral part of the collaboration that we're there for our members to keep them going.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you to the panel there. I'd like to open up to the Q&A. Thank you to everybody. I can see there's quite a couple of nice questions coming in the Q&A. Some of them obviously covered. Here's an interesting one. It says, and directly for you, Advocate Ferguson, is how would you know whether you are inadvertently discussing your legal problem with your opponent? Well, obviously, in their knock-knock concept. I mean, this could be fatal. I mean, I thought that's quite an interesting question. Perhaps a difficult one to answer, but I'm sure you've got the answer.
Yes, it's no different than in physical chambers. Again, if you sit in the common room or you walk down the corridor and you ask your colleague, listen, I've got a thing going here and I must tell you, I'm going to do things to that guy he's not going to like. You know what happened in that case. And you'll start talking, you'll start asking, and your colleague will say, easy does it, I'm involved in that thing. And then you'll know. We have that between us as colleagues. So you give the heads up, and remember, it's a question platform. It's a platform where we, like you would in physical chambers, we're there to help each other, and it's no different.
Great, excellent. At this point, I'd really like to bring our attendees' attention to a poll that we're going to run. So quickly, this is going to obviously take a few seconds for us to do this. If you can just take a few seconds to complete that, it's going to be extremely helpful in making sure that we craft and deliver the content that you would find useful. The poll's going to be up for a short while. And I'm going to also turn our attention to further questions from the audience. But let's go, if you guys can answer on those polls, that would be great. And then we can have a look at what those results would be. Perfect. So yes, I mean, if we look at some of the questions while the poll's closing, I mean, may an advocate with a trust account join the virtual chambers?
Ethan, at this stage, no. The traditional take on advocacy, and I go back to that all the time, is we are advocates, we, and I speak of us traditionalists, are advocates that receive briefs from attorneys. And I have debated this with my co-founders, but at this stage, no. We'd like to stay as close as possible. We believe that our attorneys are an integral part of our profession. You can't be half pregnant. You're either an attorney or you're an advocate. It's totally different professions. And the Virtual Chambers platform respects that. No, it's not for trust account.
Okay, thanks for that. I think we've spoken quite a bit about how the advocates and the industry or the profession, let me put that correctly, has adapted with technology. How are you finding your clients reacting to the digital transformation that has taken place in the legal services sector?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, or as a matter of fact, I would love Anthea or
Yes.
Romeo perhaps to help out here with that. Yeah. Sorry guys, you're not forgotten.
Okay, from my side, I think some of them have adapted to it. We do quite a bit of virtual consultations, virtual meetings, but there are others who prefer coming to your office. So you still have the few that will say, okay, let's have a meeting in your office, and they'll come to the office and have the meeting there. So I think for now, they're still using both systems interchangeably, depending on what they prefer. But they have moved quite swiftly to the virtual environment. Thanks.
Perfect, great. I think let's look at another question here. An advocate, Romeo, if you could assist here. What is the relationship with the South African Bar Association and the virtual chambers? Has been asked.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think it was clear. Ronald presented this idea, and we saw the idea that this idea could work, and this is the idea that one could take into the future. So we didn't want her, Terence was speaking about frogs. We didn't want her to kiss too many frogs before she gets to a princess. So we said, let her come and present it. Those who are willing to actually join and follow the platform will actually have to actually do that. And we saw that this is an idea that works. This is an idea that one can actually look into the future. Obviously, Anthea has said with a lot of upscaling, and in terms of the facilities that she's providing, it's a real touch of what being a real advocate means. So we then embraced it, and we said we don't want to be that frog that will die in the boiling water. We rather embrace this and then be able to move into the future, because this is inevitable change that is actually happening, and we have to embrace it. In the US, they had a concept that was called legal gigs, and people hated it because it was a machine that you could go into, and it was going to print out contracts as you want, and people thought that lawyers were no longer going to be consulted. But it then became apparent later that you cannot replace real human experience, as Anthea has actually said. So That you are not going to be able to replace. People will also always need you. They will need a human touch. They will need people that they have the relationship. You can't have a relationship with a machine. So you are not going to be made redundant. You will still remain there, but embrace all this, and they are going to actually help you in the functionality. If you live in the past, you will never last.
I think that's right. The nice thing here is it's a platform. It's a platform for advocates to continue doing what they're doing, but bring them into the new digital transformation so that they can have better efficiencies and respond to clients. And I see, Ronel, you'd like to make a point there.
Yes, and I want to just add on to what Romeo said. Our members can hold physical chambers if they want to. They can work remotely. They can belong to any of the advocates' bars or associations. The only requirement, they must be LPC compliant, they must be LPC members in good standing, and they must work on a referral practice. So it's not aligned to any bar, any advocates association. It's an all-inclusive, accessible platform to get that old school collaboration back again.
That's fantastic. I'd like to ask Josie, I mean, at a point there, just before we bring up those poll questions, Josie, we had a short video, obviously, on the Advocates Chamber. Do we have a few minutes to play that quickly, if it's available?
Be part of tomorrow's Advocates today. Virtual Chambers is available to all LPC compliant advocates receiving briefs from attorneys. Enjoy the full Advocates Chambers experience virtually all at a cost-effective rate. Find our collaborative skill set and invaluable intellectual capital all at your fingertips, while keeping the traditional collaboration and professional social interaction alive in our common rooms. Virtual Chambers welcomes all members, irrespective of whether you're part of any other legal association or group. Stay connected with colleagues online without the geographic limitations. Join the future of advocacy with Virtual Chambers, the real Chambers experience, virtually.
That virtually gave me goosebumps. So what I'd like to say here is just thank you to everybody. I see there are a couple of questions that we may not have got to that we can possibly then respond to possibly later. But at this point, I'd like to thank, obviously, Advocate Romeo and Advocate Anthea and Ronel for their insightful answers and the insightful information shared. I promised earlier that we would share the results of the first poll. If we can bring them up, then we can quickly have a look at the results of that poll. Okay, so we asked, what are some of the challenges you're experiencing in the virtual world? You can see quite significantly connectivity and functionality. So that also goes to some further points of discussion, obviously, rent and data access, laptop capabilities. So pretty much what we thought, but it's that connectivity and functionality that seems to be the leading there. We also asked about physical chambers. I mean, what about physical chambers that hopefully the virtual chambers will help solve? Do you experience as a challenge? And there, a majority obviously said the rental costs. The rental costs in something you mentioned earlier. I mean, like you said, why are you paying so much for this brick and mortar? When if you adopt technology, you've got the same benefits or a hybrid of the two. So that's really great. So that's some very interesting questions there. We had a additional poll question, I believe. Josie? To see, or I think it might just be me needing to scroll down in my screen. There we go. My apologies. So what I'd like to ask as well is, Lexus, Terence averted to this in terms of technology. Have you heard about Lexus Check? We've obviously got some answers there, so we can see that predominantly there's an opportunity. A lot of people have not heard of Lexus Check. It is a new product, obviously, to the market. A new digital transformation to make efficiencies and bring efficiencies to it. So that's fantastic. So really want to then get us to closing, so that we don't keep people too long and obviously in terms of their valuable time. We're really at the end of that. And perhaps we can bring up those closing slides while I just close out for us at the end of today. Okay, so once again, thank you to every single one of you for joining us. We trust each and every single one of you, and especially the younger ones that are starting out, see the opportunities and see the possibilities here. It was, for me, a very insightful session. I'd like to once again thank our esteemed panelists, Ronelle Ferguson, Advocate Romeo, and as well as the people behind the scenes, Bongiwe and Renee at the Virtual Chambers. An incredible initiative, and I think it's really taking, obviously, things to the next level. So LexisNexis and Virtual Chambers really are here to serve you as advocates, to better enable you to tap into all the benefits. And there was asked, so what is LexisNexis doing to partner with the Virtual Chambers here? And I'm very pleased to announce, you can see on screen at the moment that Virtual Chambers is offering 3 months worth of free membership to all junior advocates of 0 to 5 years experience who sign up with the Virtual Chambers before the 31st of December. 3, correct? That's correct, there we go. And then also as LexisNexis, what we are also offering there as LexisNexis, or LexisNexis are offering, is they're excited to provide an exclusive offer to those who sign up, who are already signed up as Virtual Chambers members, that they then get free access for 3 months between the 1st of December and the 28th of February 2022. So the 1st of December this year and the 28th of February 2022 for Lexis Sign, which is our digital signature solution, as well as 3 months access to all the content on Lexis Library for unmatched legal intelligence. And then Lexis Practical Guidance, which obviously practically takes that knowledge and puts it into application as well. We continue, as I'm sure we all agree, that we understand the strain, and that we're very mindful of the strain that clients are facing. And in terms of those, some of the solutions that we do have available that we've packaged specifically for that is, for example, the legal starter packs that cater for aspiring and newly qualified advocates. These packages include 12 months of free access to Advocate Select as part of the LexisNexis library content, and for attorneys completing their unpaid advocate pupillage. There are also some great economical rates for qualified professionals, such as, like you've said, baby junior advocates and single users with the starter packs. Then what I'd love to do right now, and I think is maybe just bring us to one quick last poll on the screen, and that is to let us know if you would be interested, if you are interested, if we've got your attention today and this makes sense to you, that you'd be interested in these access offers, obviously from the Virtual Chambers and LexisNexis. So I'm going to give you a minute to complete that, and then we'll have a look at that. So while we're waiting for that, absolutely, there are these great offers available. And Terence has spoken to Lexus Check, which is a first of its kind in South Africa, and really brings efficiencies to that. So let's have a look at the poll if we can. I don't know if I've given it enough time for us to vote there. And if we can see any results. Also, make sure to look at LinkedIn at our website from a LexisNexis perspective, because we're offering some great available offers at the moment on print legal essentials, on civil print works, major reference works, and a number of the leading works that we have in place. Do we have the results from the poll there?
We won't share those Ethan,
Yeah,
we'll just
absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. But I'm sure that you got your attention there, guys. So hopefully you completed that for us. It's been so insightful. Once again, thank you so much to the panelists. Each and every single one of you brought so much to today's discussion. And very importantly is that reach out. Reach out if you have any questions that we didn't get to today. Reach out to the passion that you've seen in terms of this. And then also very importantly, the webinar, those attending the webinar will get access to a recording of the webinar. Share it with your colleagues. Ensure that they are also on the same direction and at the same pace as what you do. So with that, I'd like to then just bring us to the end of this reimagining the future of an advocate practice in today's word. And would like to urge all of you to stay safe, look after yourself, and keep well.
Thank you, Anthea.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lexis.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks all.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.